Okay. So where we have within appraisers, okay, you see Rohit 90%, Rahul 100%. Appraiser versus standard, the same thing which we calculated. Okay, Rohit 90%, Rahul 95%. So in Minitab, it's very simple. You can just right click anywhere. Okay, copy graph if you want to put it in your presentation. Okay, just paste it here. So you will have the same graph here.
Okay, so we can copy paste all the graphs from there.
Yeah.
Is it so that we can prepare all those fish diagram, fishbone analysis, everything in here?
Everything here. You don't need to use any sort of template. So you can either copy graph, you can take a snapshot of it, you can use a snippet, whatever you want. But just want to tell you that Minitab also has a feature, so you can use either one of them. Okay, so copy graph also, copy text as well. You want to send graph to the Microsoft PowerPoint directly. This will open the Microsoft PowerPoint and the same thing will get pasted there. Okay, so that
it's just that we need to input the data and then we can get the graph, everything prepared automatically.
Absolutely. So in all the tests that we are going to do on Minitab, okay, we will be able to fetch or copy that snapshot in your respective presentations or in your Excel, and by this you will be able to show a graphically or visual representation of what you have done. Okay, so if you want
Simarpreet, I have a question on this attribute agreement analysis. See, we are measuring the appraisers readings, but how do we know that the equipment is calibrated or not?
Okay, here the example that we have taken is we have considered that there is no equipment as of now. Okay, which means that they are using it manually. Everybody has their own technique of calculating it. If there was an equipment which they are using, okay, which could be a stand, could be a system, could be a report, and if while doing it from the system, if there's any sort of an error that they get while doing it, in that particular case, so for example, there is one particular system which fetch the report. Okay, so let's say Simarpreet has tried it first and fetched the report and got some observations. Now Kishore is using the same system or same equipment and got his reading. And third time it was Rahul who tried it, and fourth it was Rimi who has tried it. Okay, we have 4 operators, and we have a standard who's Anand. Okay, so now we all have fetched the report from the system and taken the data out of it. So we have used one particular equipment. If in that particular case we are matching with all the readings that we have, which means that we all are calibrated. There is nothing wrong with the equipment. Okay. However, if there was any deviation between the readings that we have calculated, we would say it's an operator kind of a variation. Equipment sort of a variation comes in that place when we are using a repeatability sort of way. When one person is doing it again, in that particular case, we could say that there could be an issue with the equipment. Okay, because there is no operator, there are no 2 different operators that takes place. The moment it includes more than one operator, it's a variance of or variation of operator that we're looking at. Okay, just want to show you the slides so that you can refer back.
Simar, while you're checking that, the trials that we selected as 2 in Minitab.
Yeah,
it's because we only have 2 appraisers there. No matter we have 20 data points, but if at all we had say 3 or 4 different people doing that again instead of 2, then how would your trials then map out?
Okay, let's understand that. In Minitab, we looked at 2 things. One is the number of appraisers and second is the number of trials. Number of trial means how many times it was done. okay, by different operators. In this particular example, if you look at, it was Rohit who has done it, and it was Rahul who has done it. So there are two trials here. Okay, there are two trials here, and that's the reason we are able to do it. However, if we would have added one more operator, okay, let's say Bhanu was there, Bhanu was also there. So in that case, Bhanu would have done it twice as well. Then also in that particular case, the trial would be 3 here.
Yeah.
Okay?
So
So no. Will that not be that the trials would, as Rohit has done it twice, right? And Rahul has done it twice. So the trials are 2, but the appraisers are 2 as well because it's Rohit and Rahul. If we add Bhanu in here, right? Maybe I'm wrong with the understanding, but just trying to reiterate. And if I have Bhanu added in here, Bhanu also does it twice. So the trials would remain 2 as everyone has done it twice, and the appraisers would be 3.
Yeah, that is also my understanding.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, appraiser would, yes, absolutely. Appraiser would be, yeah. Maybe I have said it wrong, but yes. Okay. So appraiser is the number of operators that we have. So appraisers, so if I have add Bhanu here, so Rohit, Rahul and Bhanu, number of appraisers would be 3, but number of trial remains 2.
Because everybody is doing it to 5.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
So trial means how many times one operator has done it. So let me ask you a question, and so that everybody. So let's say I have Anand 1, 1, Piyush 1. Okay. Now tell me how many appraisers and how many trials.
3 appraisers.
Three
Appraisers are 3
2 trials.
and
trials.
trials are
3 trials.
3 trials.
I mean,
3
3
times.
trials, right.
3 times one person has done them.
Yes. So are we all good with this now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Simba, one question. So how do we choose the number of transactions to be taken, the number of, the number of trials and the number of people? Is there any standard using which we can choose?
So you asking a question that how many samples should we take into consideration for doing
Yeah.
MSA?
Yeah.
Okay, it should at least have 20 sample size for a discrete data for us to calculate MSA. At least 20. So 20 is the basic minimum sample size that you should take.
Simarpreet, I have a question. If the number of appraisers are, is there any standard that for this many appraisers the trial should be this many, or as far as manufacturing is concerned, when we consider 2 appraisers, then the trial should be 2, and if it is 3, then it should be 3 trials. Is there any standard like that?
The minimum requirement is it should be at least 2 so that we can calculate the reproducibility and the standard also. But there is no limit to add the number of appraisers you want to add. You can add 3 and 4. The only thing it would happen is that it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort as well. But if your cost of defect is very, very high, if you are running at a good sigma level and if you have good enough time for looking at the problem, you can add more than 2 as well. But 2 is good enough. You want to add 3 or 4, then also it's fine. But please don't try to add more than 4 or 5. Then it becomes very, very complicated and it takes a lot of time. But at least 2 should be there.
If I take 4 appraisers, then the trial should be how many times? It can be 2 or 3 or 4.
You can add as many trials as you can also, but as per the standard reproducibility, you can do it for 3 and 4 times as well. But the more you do it, the more data you have to rely on. Okay, so you can have 4 trials and you can have 4 operators as well. Okay, but don't try more than 4.
Okay.
It would
And
take a lot of time. Yeah.
one more question on the standard for the attribute. Attribute, how do you arrive the standard for the attribute? See some masterpiece, or I'm coming from the point of manufacturing. We do have a masterpiece or a check sample. So considering trial on that masterpiece, should we take the standard or how is it?
Yes. So if there is any masterpiece or any master calibrator, or maybe a client who's reading that, we consider that as a final. We can consider that as the standard. However, absence of standard is also fine. But in that case, you will try to add more operators. Then, okay. Then in that case, you can add 3 operators to ensure that how many times 3 are calibrated.
Sivalpreet, I have seen long back, maybe around 10, 15 years back, when quality people are doing this attribute gauge study, there are some 3 appraisals and doing for 100 times, 100 intervals. Each
3
operator
appraiser,
100 times.
how many times? 100 times.
100 times.
Okay, so that would be a,
go no go, go no go.
so 100 times they are checking whether it's good to go or not.
Yeah, one person, 100 times. There are
Yeah.
3 appraisals will be there, doing around 100 times.
Yeah. So in that particular case, I believe it's something very delicate kind of a piece that that is being monitored, that is being measured, or something which is very critical for the customer, or a costly kind of a piece, because this usually happens in a pharmaceutical sort of a way, pharmaceutical and airlines, wherein before preparing any sort of medicine, it is being checked 10 or 12 times. And there it is not dependent on the sample. Each and everything is done. So there, not only 20, which we have taken example, if Ranbaxy is producing 1 lakh medicines, let's say 1 lakh Rosins or 1 lakh paracetamols, each and every medicine will be measured by 3 or 4 operators. So it depends upon the part that we are measuring. So these are parts or transactions. So, but in a Six Sigma typical project that we have, the standard says 3 operators and 3 trials.
And in the pharmaceutical, as you said, like each and every one is measured. Like so, for all the operators, they have to be accurate with the standard. Like it is like because they
Yes.
cannot, I believe, afford to do any error,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Because they work on more than Six Sigma. They don't work on Six Sigma, so their cost of defect is pretty high, and that's the reason they use their own standard. And in that particular sort of way, they don't rely on manual sort of activities. Okay,
Okay.
they work on those systems wherein everything is being monitored or measured using systems only. We don't have to do MSA there, or we don't have to do attribute agreement analysis. In that sort of a way, they have different systems altogether. But in a service or in a manufacturing, we have to rely on doing MSA.
Same.
As I said earlier, if the report is auto generated, then no matter how many times that you fetch, every time you get the same result. So in that particular case, MSA is not required. And these industries also work on those models wherein MSA is not required all the time. It might be required for a new product or a new design, but not for all the time. Okay. So so that's what is a measurement system analysis for discrete data, which is called attribute agreement analysis. So we have covered this. So this is how we have already done it. This is a snapshot of what we have done. So 90% is acceptance criteria.